Let's take a look at 8.3 data distributions, and we'll start by reviewing measures of center and spread. This should be a lot of information that you're familiar with. We generally start teaching these things in middle school. I am going to move rather quickly through this video, so I recommend that you pause the video, you can jot down what's on your screen, and then come on back and we'll do this together. So the first thing we're going to take a look at is the mean. The mean is the average, so you're going to add up all of your terms and then divide by the number of terms that you have. So for this data set, literally I grab a calculator and I just enter the numbers and I plus between them, hit the equal sign. The sum of the terms is 186. Now if I count the number of terms, you'll see that we have 16 terms. So that's what we're going to divide by. And we're going to get 11.625. Now the standard deviation is the measure of how much the values in the data set vary or deviate from the mean. Now your book is going to ask you to calculate standard deviation, and what they're wanting you to do is to either use a spreadsheet or use a calculator. We're not going to bother with it. We're going to deal with standard deviation a little bit more in upcoming sections of this topic. So wherever you're asked to find standard deviation in 8.3, just disregard it. We don't all have the right calculators, spreadsheets, etc. So we are just going to skip over it until we get into normal distribution. So if we do have, and this is going to come up later on, if we have a normal distribution, or we can say a symmetric, a normal distribution, which is what we mainly deal with. So if it occurs, if we have a symmetric distribution, which for our intent and purposes, we will be focusing on normal distributions, you would use the mean and standard deviation as your measure of center and spread. And again, we're going to be kind of talking about that in each section as we progress. Now we have the 5-number summary. And what's important to do here is you have to rearrange your data set from lowest to highest. It must be in ascending order, otherwise you're not going to get the correct measures of center out. And we use this if we have a skewed distribution, and again, we'll be talking about that a little bit more later on. So here's our data set, and I've gone ahead and I have arranged it from lowest value to highest value. And we're going to start out, here's my 5-number summary: minimum, maximum, medium, your first quartile, your third quartile. And let's take a look at those values. So my minimum, that's going to be your lowest value. So my lowest value is 3. My highest value, the maximum, is 25. Now, when we're finding the median, think about the middle. So I have 16 pieces of data in my data set. So half of 16 is 8. That's an even number. So that means I'm going to have to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's going to be between the 8th and the 9th data value. Well, we can easily see here that's going to be 12.5, but let's take a closer look, because this one's nice and obvious, but they are not always so obvious. So what you would do if it's not so obvious is you would take the two data values. In our instance, it was 12 and 13, and you would divide them by 2, and you would get your median. And again, this one's nice and obvious. They are not always so obvious, so that is the procedure you would take. And this only happens when you're on an even numbered data set. If this were an odd numbered data set, your data value will be right in the middle, and we will see some examples of that as we go. So my median is right in here. So now let's take a look at the first quartile. The first quartile is the median of the lower half. So now I'm just looking here at my lower half. And again, I have 8 data values in here. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So it is going to be between my 4th and my 5th data value. And this one's easy, they're the same number. And again, notice in the middle, I have 4 to the left, 4 to the right. So quartile 1 is 6. And now let's look at the third quartile. That is going to be the median of the upper half of my data. And again, I had 16, cut it in half. I have 8 on each side. So now let's go 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So right here. And again, I have 1, 2, 3, 4 on the other side. So halfway between 15 and 16, that's my quartile 3. And halfway between 15 and 16 is 15.5. So now what we can do is the old box and whisker plot. So we're going to draw a number line. I started at my minimum. I ended at my maximum. I spaced these out. I scaled it by 2s. So let's start dropping our data in. We have a minimum of 3. I have a maximum of 25. My median was at 12.5, so that's approximately right here. I'm just going to go ahead and put a line. We're going to start doing the box. My first quartile is at 6, so that's right here. And my third quartile is at 15.5, so we'll say right about in here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to make my box and whiskers. Let me see if I have a black pen. I was not as prepared for this as I should have been. Here, we'll use a pencil. So here's my box. And here's my whiskers.